Hello guys and welcome back to Ollie's on the Ball. This is my round 5 tips video. So this week it's gather round and somehow we're already 5 rounds into the season. So yeah, starting to really know who's going to be good, who's not going to be good. I feel like 4 rounds is a decent amount of time so you know where every team's at. So things are really starting to shape up and should be pretty exciting round being gather round, always a good round. So last week got 5 out of 8 Ollie's calls and 6 out of 8 tips. So yeah, 6 out of 8, not great, not too bad. My tipping was pretty good apart from one game which I really stuffed up. So first of all, Collingwood-Carlton. Collingwood got up pretty easy over Carlton, winning by 17 with a margin of 25 that I had. So margin not too bad. Geelong-Melbourne, Geelong got up easily. Gold Coast-Adelaide, now this was a bit of a controversial one with Gold Coast getting up by a point. Isaac, Crank and Mark not paid, but can't really do much about it now, so the win still goes to the Suns. Richmond got up pretty comfortably, but Richmond showed some fight. North Sydney, now this was an awful tip. North was pretty good, and I had high hopes, but they did just not play well at all on Saturday night, lost by 65. GWS West Coast, you would expect them to win. Port St Kilda, I tipped Port St Kilda won, so I'm not too unhappy about getting that tip wrong, given I go for the Saints. Then Freo Western Bulldogs, I originally tipped the Bulldogs, but after my Saturday night horrible tip, I tipped the Dockers, went the safe one, and finished up with 6 out of 8 for the round. So on to my tips for this week. First up, we've got Geelong-Adelaide. To kick off gather round, should be a pretty good game. Adelaide, record of 3-1 last week, lost to Gold Coast by 1. Probably a game they should have won, and controversial umpiring decision, but they'll move on from that. Nothing they can do about it. They're 3-1, they probably should be 4-0, but they've looked really good to start the season, and you'd think they would be up there in finals time. Geelong 2-2 last week beat Melbourne by 39. It's a bit hard to get a read on them. They smashed Freo. They beat Melbourne pretty comfortably, but then they've lost to St Kilda, lost to Brisbane, so it's a bit hard to tell. So this game could go either way, but I'm going to go with the favourites here, tipping Adelaide by 17, with my Ollie's call Riley Thilthorpe kicks 4+ goals. Next game, Adelaide Oval, 7:40pm Friday night. Got Collingwood v Sydney. This should be a pretty good game. Collingwood record of 3-1 last week, beat Carlton by 17. So they've looked okay. Well, they didn't look great in the first game of the season against GWS, but then since then they've actually probably looked like a top 4 side. So you'd think they should make finals this year. Then Sydney, they were 0-2. Now they're 2-2. Beat North by 65 last week. Very clinical performance from Sydney. Outclassed North in a lot of ways and won by a fair margin. So this game again could probably go either way on neutral territory, but I'm going to tip the Swans by 6 with my Ollie's call Sydney kick 110+ points. Next game of the round, got North v Gold Coast at Barossa Park. First ever AFL game at Barossa Park, 12:35pm Saturday. North record of 1-3. Last week, very disappointing effort losing to Sydney by 65 points. Bit hard to get a read on them. They looked good against Melbourne, but Melbourne have looked pretty bad. They looked okay against Adelaide, okay against the Bulldogs, but looked no good against the Swans. So you'd expect they'll be towards the bottom half of the ladder, but they could push for a finish 12, something like that. That would be an okay finish for them this season. Gold Coast, on the other hand, record 3-0, beat Adelaide by 1. Pretty controversial finish, but the Suns get the win. Probably game of the season so far. Very good game. And the Suns, well, first time in their history, they've probably actually been a chance to make finals, a genuine chance. This has happened before, they've had decent starts and then fell off, so you don't know, but you'd think they should get up in this one pretty comfortably, so I'm going to tip them by 53, with my Ollie's called Gold Coast lead by less than 10 points at half time. Second Saturday afternoon game, Carlton v West Coast, Adelaide Oval, 1:20 p.m. Saturday. Carlton, record of 0-4, last week lost to Collingwood by 17. They've probably been the most disappointing team of the season. People thought they were going to make finals, some top four, some even premiers, but they're looking like a bottom two side at the moment, bottom four side. They're 0-4, they just haven't looked great. They've been up at half-time in every game, but always fade away and lose, so this should be... yeah, pretty interesting game. West Coast also being 0-4, lost to GWS by 81. They have showed signs though. They were up early against Brisbane but then fell away. So you never know. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting game. If Carlton lose to West Coast, well then that's like season over and that'd be a very big upset. But I'm going to back the Blues. I think they have to win at some point, and this is going to be it. Tip them by 22 with my Ollie's call West Coast lead at quarter time. Next game, Norwood Oval, 4:15 p.m. Saturday. Got Western Bulldogs v Brisbane. Western Bulldogs with a record of 2-2. Last week they lost to Freo by 16. Not a bad performance. They had a pretty good last quarter, but if they were up at three-quarter time, like, that last quarter was good. They just had to play like that all match. So, not a bad performance. Freo just had a really good second quarter. Sam Darcy, he's a star and is really going to help them this season. Brisbane, record of 4-0 last week, beat Richmond by 28. They were up by about 50 in the third quarter, but then they just let Richmond get back late and just give Richmond something, like, just stay positive. Like, a 30-point loss against reigning premiers isn't too bad, but Lions, you don't know, maybe they're just taking it easy, which would make sense, as in they don't want to have any injuries or anything, and they still got the win. They're 4-0, so nothing to complain about. This should be a pretty close game on neutral territory, but I reckon Brisbane will get up by 31, and my Ollie's call, Zach Bailey has 30-plus disposals. Saturday night Saturday night game of gather round, Adelaide Oval, 7:35. Melbourne, Essendon. Melbourne 0-4, last week lost to Geelong by 39. They look like they're going to be down the bottom this season. Most people expect them to miss finals, but I don't think anyone thought they'd be this bad. Like, I don't know who they're going to beat at this rate. But you never know. They've got a pretty good list. They've got Max Gawn, Ruckman. They've got Oliver Petrarca, Viney in the midfield. So pretty good. But there's just some areas of their game that aren't quite there at the moment. Whereas Essendon 1-2 last week by, bit hard to get a read on them. Lost to Hawthorn and lost to. I can't remember who they lost to, actually. Lost to Adelaide, that's it. And then beat Port Adelaide, so it's a bit hard to get a read on them. I think they'll be in the 8 to 12 range. It seems like they're always there. So I reckon Essendon should get up in this one by 26, with my Ollie's call Sam Draper kicks 2+ goals. First game to kick off the Sunday, Freo v Richmond at Barossa Park, 12:35 p.m. Richmond, record of 1-3, lost to Brisbane by 28. Now, they've looked how you'd expect them to look after that crazy win over Carlton, but is that a good win now? Well, the Blues don't look great, do they? Freo 2-2 last week beat the Western Bulldogs by 16. Pretty good performance. You'd expect them to win games like that at home, and I reckon they'll be a chance to make finals this season. So I reckon Freo should get up pretty comfortably in this one. I'm going to tip them by 39. With my Ollie's call, Sarong and Brayshaw combined for 60+ disposals. Next game, Norwood Oval, 3:20 p.m. Sunday, St Kilda v GWS. St Kilda, record of 3-1 last week, beat Port Adelaide by 17. It was a great performance from us, and only our fourth win at the Adelaide Oval, so pretty good. And I don't think we've beat Port Adelaide. Yeah, well, we beat them in 2020, but before that we haven't beat them in ages, so a pretty good win against a team we don't beat very often. And 3-1, pretty good start. At the start of the season, 1-3, 2-2, it would be lucky after the first 4 games. But it's the next tough 5 for us. I think we play GWS, maybe Fremantle, Carlton, Western Bulldogs, Brisbane, so it's a pretty tough next 5 games. GWS, on the other hand, also 3-1, but I reckon they're definitely a better team than us. Beat West Coast by 81, pretty easy win. Jesse Hogan kicked 9, back to his best. And I reckon this will be a pretty close game, though. Probably could be game of the round. I'm going to tip GWS to get up by 9, with my Oz goal St Kilda kick 5 more behind some goals. Then last game of the round, Channel 7 game on the Sunday Arvo at Adelaide Oval. 7:20, we've got Port Adelaide v Hawthorn. Port Adelaide 1-3 last week, lost to St Kilda by 17. I think Port might miss finals, to be genuinely honest. I tipped them as my premiers, and that's looking a bit stupid right now. Lost to Essendon, lost to St Kilda, and they did get the 1 win, but that was over Richmond, so not too much to gain from that. Also lost to Collingwood. They haven't looked great to start the season, and as I said, they might miss finals. Hawthorn 4-0, they had the bye, not too much to say, but pretty good win over GWS the week before. They were down early, but got back with the win and then held on to win with the wind and held on to win. So pretty good performance over a very strong GWS side. And they would be up there as premiership favourites with Brisbane. So I reckon Port Adelaide will come out of a bit of fight, though it's gather around, something to play for. But I reckon Hawthorn will just get up in the end by 3 points, with my Oz called Port Adelaide lead at 3/4 time. So just recapping on my tips for the round, going to go Adelaide over Geelong by 17. Sydney in the upset of the round, going to go Gold Coast over North. Carlton should beat West Coast. I reckon Lions get up over Bulldogs. Then you got 3 pretty easy tips on the Sunday with Freo, GWS and Hawthorn. So those are my tips for the round. Thanks for watching Oz on the Ball. I hope you enjoyed this tips video. I'll try and get some more content out. So I know I've said that for a couple of weeks, but I've been really busy lately. So when I find the time, I'll try and get a couple of videos out. But thanks for watching and see you next time.